remove most of the leaves. So I can just simply twist them off, or you can use some kitchen shears or knife, but they're pretty easy to just kind of just pull off, just snap it off just like that. And you can save these and dry them so you can use it later for cooking. It smells so good. So now I'm going to leave just a couple of leaves. The reason why we're removing all the leaves is because it'll prevent moisture loss or water transpiration. So I'm going to cut these leaves, just about a quarter of it or a third of it, and make sure the bottom is slant cut or at an angle. And all you have to do is just stick it into pre-moistened potting soil. So just like that. So make sure you keep the soil moist, water it every week or every other week, depending on how warm it is in your area. Once you get your cuttings in the pots, place them in an area where they receive indirect sunlight or light. So one last step that you don't want to skip is placing a bag over your cuttings. That way it'll keep the humidity inside. Tuck in the bag under the pots. This will prevent the leaves from drying out. In the past, when I tried to propagate cuttings, the leaves have dried out on me completely, especially when you're trying to propagate them indoors. The air tends to be drier. And so this is actually very effective, and this is a great advice from my mom, and she's had great experience propagating bay leaves. So now you're probably wondering how long it would take for your cuttings to root. These were started last fall, so it's been about almost 5 months. It can take between 2 months to maybe 4 or 5 months, depending on your climate. So we're gonna go ahead and dig one up. And how to tell if your cutting has rooted is you just gently pull on your cutting. And if there's any resistance, that means that your cutting has rooted. So we have a successful propagation right here. Oh, sorry guys, I'm holding the phone. There was a stick right in front of the camera there. So let's go ahead and plant this in its own pot. I'm just using a standard potting mix with compost and perlite, and I added some warm castings in there. So just put your little cutting in there, press around on the side, just like so, and then we'll give it some water. So bay leaves don't need to be watered as much as other plants, so I usually just water about every 1.5 to 2 weeks, or when the top of the soil is feel dry to touch. So you don't want to overwater it, that way the roots don't rot. So here is where I place the cuttings, near a skylight and a window, but out of direct light or sunlight. And remember to use the bag method so you can successfully root your cuttings. This method will prevent the leaves from drying out, so you might not even have to cut the tips of the leaves, although I do still recommend that, especially if it's your first time rooting or propagating bay leaves.